Hello, Team Flyer. How are you on this beautiful Monday or whichever day of the week you're listening to this, of course. We're here with Motivational Mondays and our beautiful and wonderful Cassandra. Hi, love.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. Hello, how are we turning this into like a bilingual thing? Yes. Yes,
With
for
my
more.
few Spanish words, I will inject them whenever I know them.
Exactly. Yes, to like representation and like Latina power. And I love like even if that you, of course, you're not a Latina, but you're like a really good ally for us and like for like minority figures and whatnot. And I love it. You're like, I'm gonna start. I can learn this. And your trip to South America, which so many questions, by the way, but not the point of this podcast right now. But
Soon, maybe in the
I'm
future.
exactly. I would think so. I think so. I think I've had quite a few questions by now to throw your way. So, it is Motivational Monday, as always, with us. And you have today's quote. What's today's quote, my love?
Today's quote is, if you want to be happy, set a goal that commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, and inspires your hopes. And this is by Andrew Carnegie.
This is definitely a quote that's up our alley here at the Always Believer, here for the one and only Ariadna Redondo. For setting your goals, definitely. I am a true advocate, believer, motivator, whatever you want to call it, cheerleader, hype girl, for you to sit down and like write your goals. Not only on a daily basis, like daily goals or like daily triumphs as well, but before we get too deep into that, just goals in general that you want to achieve. Um, and this goes like what we always say here with, we're wellness, mind, body, and soul. So like the way the quote goes is, it commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, and inspires your hopes. So, you see a lot of people with their life quote unquote put together, people who are very, like have a whole bunch of businesses or prosperous business, family, health. Like, how did they get there? Like, how did they do that? Most likely than not, they're going to tell you, you know what I do? I sit down and think about what I want and the steps for me to take to get there. Because that's always my first and number one advice, without a doubt. Well, before I continue with all these little tidbits, what's your take on it a little bit?
First, I would like to give a huge shout out to Andrew Carnegie. He wrote the book, How to Influence Friends, how to, oh my gosh.
It's okay.
Wait. How to Make Friends and Influence People. And that actually came out in 1929, which was the same year that the Great Depression started. So he goes way, way, way back, and he has so many inspiring quotes. I would not be surprised to see another one pop up on our podcast.
I agree.
Plus, he was very good at, they did, back in the day at universities, he's kind of like the guy that started the public speaking or kind of like those where you get together and then you learn how to do public speaking and be really good at it. And I think that's so in line with kind of making goals and command your thoughts, liberate energy. For me, right now, I am technically unemployed. I take jobs here and there, but it's very blasé, like every so often. I don't always know when my next job is. And I think I need to start with this quote because my problem has been kind of finding, like what's making me happy? What's the goal that commands my thoughts? What do I want to do for my next job that liberates my energy and inspires my hopes to do something really great that helps out, that, that's in line with my morals and my goals? And I don't think that I found it yet. And I'm, struggling with that a little bit as I go through and try to decide. And I've applied to a lot of jobs, but I don't know where my heart is. So I'm still working on that. Exactly, that quote, like, what do I want to do that makes me wake up and my energy is thrumming because I'm so excited to get on with the day?
I adore that you put your example, to be honest. First of all, that I always give you props as well. Well, not only to the person who said the quote, because my gosh, I do know a lot about him as well, and I love him. And the fact that it came out in 1929, I was always very impressed. I'm like, wow. But I always give props to you because you were in the military and you were very high ranked and you told us your story. And I always tell every one of you in Motivational Monday because I always give you props. But even within that, even a person that has gone to the military and is currently unemployed, you also have the quote unquote normal feelings because you are indeed a human being. And it takes time. I feel like it doesn't, you don't need to know, oh my gosh, talking about people who are we get inspired by Gary Vee. I'm pretty sure we either mentioned him before or we're probably going to mention him again because Gary Vee is, well, Gary Vee himself, just the mastermind of positive thoughts and hardworking. And one of his things was you don't have to have it figured out. Like, don't tell your teenage kids going off to college, you need to figure it out. You could be 57 years old and not know. And that kind of interlines with what you were saying as well. It doesn't matter what age range you are, what you've done with your life, which is a really noble thing. In your case, being in the military, it's kind of like, I still want to know what makes me happy. Like, I still want to know what makes my heart flutter every single morning, And definitely the answer starts within. Obviously, I feel like whatever makes you happy is also very flexible within each day. As in, like, maybe today, what makes you happy is your nap or an hour walk, or I mean, those are not particularly to your goal, but they're like for your mind, soul, and wellness, basically. And that's a good place to start. The moment that you start like taking care of yourself, be like, oh, and be okay that today you could be eating, I don't know, French fries, that you never eat French fries, but today you're really craving this, and that's going to make you happy and fulfilled. And you know what I mean? It comes in different ways and shapes. And through that, of course, sitting down with yourself and knowing, one of my biggest things, another advice that I always love to give, is you make a happy list. So you write down as many things as you like. A lot of people are like, oh my God, can I write 10? I'm like, you can write 100 for all I care. I mean, whatever makes you happy, write a list, because the moments that you are down and you don't know what to do, you can always go back to that list. And also that list can also help you in a professional setting as well, because you can think about like, what do I like to do in a job? What am I good at? Am I good at leadership? Am I good at public speaking? Because maybe I'm not. Maybe I just prefer to be behind the computer all day because I'm good at designing, so on and so forth. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Ariadna. To also look at one of the points that you just made, I definitely agree that no matter where you are in your life, even if you had it figured out when you were 22 and you had a goal that was exactly represents this quote, that doesn't mean that over time things change. And it's okay to decide to adapt to that next level. Or, maybe you did that thing. Maybe you worked in a certain office with a certain CEO that you loved and it gave you extreme fulfillment. But then, like, over time, things happened, kind of the dynamic changed, whatever it was. It's okay to start looking for something more or something new, even though okay, for me, one of the greatest risks of being without a job after 10 years was job security. I had no idea what the future held, and I also decided to do even more crazy stuff at a younger age, and I ended up coming screeching back to the United States during a worldwide pandemic. Like, who could have predicted that? And it's, I guess, a little comical because I'm without a job, but now there's so many people that are looking at new careers and kind of they're out of job or their job went remote, and there's just so many shifts in the dynamics of kind of like the old view, I guess, and now it's like the new view. And for me, I would definitely be sitting down, which I am doing, or I would tell everyone else, go ahead and sit down. Think about it in your mind. What really is that thing? Like, is it maybe that you can just get a certificate that's not an entire degree just to try a new thing? Maybe it doesn't cost as much money. Maybe you could do it in a couple weeks, and maybe you have kids, but it's a night class. But I think that the time is now. Like, it's time to really look at your life, make sure that you are meeting all your expectations, and if you're not, it's okay not to jump out of it right away, but maybe look at a new path just to see what there is. And the internet just provides so much opportunity for that alone.
Agreed. Without a doubt. I mean, I also love the fact that you said that we all come in different stages. I know we talked up briefly in the previous episode, like life comes more or less in stages and stages are different. And in this particular sense is that, you know, what you said, you might have had it figured out at 22 and that's what you want to do at that moment, but it doesn't mean that you want the same thing at 27 or at 32. Like, you really don't know because you're ever growing, you're ever changing. You do not like the same things you did when you were 5. You don't like the same TV shows. Well, this is basically the same, you know, with your taste and likes. And even though you may change careers many times, it's also absolutely okay as long as you continue to find your own happiness. Because I've changed careers a whole bunch. Like, that's why I put myself in. And I was, my goodness, I was anything from a tour guide to an event organizer, including weddings, which I adore organization. So I did those very well. I was a teacher for many years, a language teacher, mentor, ambassador, like all these sorts of things kind of lined into one. I went into marketing as well, so I did a lot through that. Point being is that every single stage in my life has brought me to where I am today, and even to this day, um you know, I still sit down with myself and like, what makes me happy today? I mean, I feel like that's the most important question you can ask yourself. And maybe people ask me like, oh, because, you know, I just moved from Spain last year, from Spain to the States in this particular case. Like, what made you change? How did you change? I'm like, well, my business is one of them. I really wanted to like put myself all into what I was doing. I really wanted to share my message because I believe in this message. But you know what, like, in order for me to have done that, I did sit down with myself and figure out at the beginning of all this, what do I want a message to say? Where do I want to go with this? What kind of opportunities? So on and so forth. So literally everything is like a learning moment, I would want to say, and that we grow constantly. And then through that, the real essence, I guess, would be your happiness, like finding what your happiness is in every single way, shape, and form, like within your life. And yeah, definitely the time starts now. Definitely.
Especially because I have met a couple of different people over the years, and they were getting towards the end of their military career, and they had given up everything for the military. Like, one person I knew had gotten a divorce over working so much, and he was putting 16 hours a day into his job, even when the ship was on the pier. And after the kind of seeing that and talking with him and seeing different things, I just realized that, you know, some people really are like, well, don't worry, when I'm retired, I'm going to do that. Or when I'm retired, I'll have all this time to do that. Well, first of all, over time, things change. And if you maybe thought that you were going to go travel the world when you're older, also understand that you're now older. And if you wanted to hike a bunch of mountains, you still can, but it's more limiting because your body is older. And there's just a lot to say that maybe don't put it off till retirement. So maybe if you really like your job now, but you really wanted to get into gardening, or I mean, anything really, I don't know, basket weaving, that's like always the example. Maybe it's time to look at maybe the community college has like a class that only costs like a couple $100, and you can take it twice a week after your kids go to bed, night class. And maybe you take that moment for yourself just to make sure you have your own goals, set your own happiness, so then later in life, you're already ready when you get to retirement to do those things that you really love. And it's something that I've talked to a lot of people about, because I don't think people realize that they're working towards retirement. And then when they get there, they realized, oh shit, like, what am I do? I don't have anything to do now, and I don't have a plan. And I think it's actually really important to think about that, and like, what do you see yourself doing in retirement? And I think this quote and what you feel now maybe plays into that later.
It really does. To like invest in your present and your future without a doubt. Because once again, you reminded me, like everyone knows, everyone knows, as I always say, I did drop out of high school, but then in my mid 20s, more or less, or mid late 20s, I decided to go back and finish my high school degree, and I did some sort of a community college, basically for marketing. And that was like something I did for my happiness. I mean, I loved teaching, and I did have a teaching degree to some extent because Spain works differently. We have courses. We're not going to talk about that right now in this podcast for that kind of information. But even though I was able to be a teacher for a long time, and I adored my kids no matter the age, especially the little ones, of course, um, I knew that wasn't making me happy. Was I good at it? Yeah, of course, because it's something automatically that comes out of me, and you can kind of tell. But I wasn't truly happy. So in order for me to find that happiness, what you were saying about those courses, that's exactly what I did as well in that time. I became a person who had 3 jobs in order to maintain herself through college and put herself through college for 3 years, basically. Yeah. And all that aligned for me to be the person I am today, because talking about now retirement, not that I'm thinking of retiring anytime soon, but it is something like, oh, now I have the skills. Now I did put my business out there. Is it going to be a winning business? We hope so. We're doing everything we can. However, I still have to remember and remind myself that I should be proud of what I did in order to get myself here and all the doors that I opened, because I started at that moment. So once again, it's like working for your future self at your present moment. Like, what can you do today to make yourself better tomorrow? I feel like that's kind of what we're trying to say conjointly with this quote, without a doubt.
Oh yeah, exactly. Plus, I think something else that you could do or look into or look at is just kind of all the accomplishments that you've already done, and maybe make a list of all those things that you've accomplished in your life and what gave you the most satisfaction. And then from there, like, maybe there's different levels of different things, and maybe that's how you can figure out, maybe you did something in the past but it was only for a small time and maybe you loved it. So I'm not saying that everyone's unhappy, but I just think that sometimes people get stuck in a kind of like a cycle of, oh, I'm doing this because I need to for my family, and oh, that's 100% a great reason to be doing something. But if you ever get the slightest opportunity to grab onto something that you're really passionate about, that's where I would say you never know what would happen, and maybe it's time to explore it.
I adore that so much. That, and literally, like, we never know how much time we have on this planet, and not to get too drastic, but it's true. Like, you can't wait and put off things till you're tired, or you don't know. COVID happened, like this whole pandemic hit. You didn't know that. Maybe you were decided to travel and like you were waiting. Like, no, you got to start doing things today and take that class or I don't know, YouTube University. I mean, come on, you can learn so many things online thanks to our beautiful, wonderful YouTubers that we have today. Things like that. Just take action to your own hands, manners. I forgot that quote, but
Yeah, Audible.
just
Audible
grab
has
it.
the. Oh, sorry, Ariana. Audible has the great courses
Mm-hmm.
where you can use a credit to essentially take like almost a college level course. Of course, you wouldn't get credit for it like you would at a university, but maybe all you needed was some knowledge to be able to go do something. And I bought one, the great courses for finance, because I wanted to know more, and it was more of a history of kind of like financial market crashes over history and what happened, because I was concerned with what's going on with the economy now, and I just wanted to get a history, and I didn't do a finance class when I was in college. It wasn't in my curriculums, and so I just wanted to know more. And yeah, those courses come with like a 250 long page, or at least this one did, PDF that you can follow along. So it's essentially like a college course without the credit. And I think because of the internet, I think that's why we can have this conversation, because there's so much opportunity to just work on something even late at night or whatever time you have in the day. Glennon Doyle, I referenced her in our last podcast, but when she was talking about her writing, when she was writing for her blog, she was actually hiding in her closet in the beginning after her kids went to sleep, just to clear her mind and take that time where she was waking up very early in the morning, I think around 4 a.m., to sit down and write, because she knew that's when her mind would be the clearest, and that's when she could say what she was trying to say before everyone was awake. And I think it's also looking for those moments in your day that you could take for yourself, even if it's meditating 5 minutes.
It's so important to do something for yourself every single day. And I do agree, like, people ask me about my schedule. I'm like, well, it depends. Like right now, my self-care looks a lot like sleeping in, because that's what my body needs. I feel like this year is taking a toll. So I don't wake up as early as I did before. However, I still take time for myself, and I remember perfectly. I've seen a lot of different moms. I've interviewed a whole lot of different moms. When you said about Glennon Dole, for example, like they do wake up extremely early, like, and they do run their business early in the morning or late at night, but usually early in the morning. And it's something admirable, but something for them. Of course, they love their kids and they love their jobs, and they're doing it, because of course, like, they have kids for a reason and whatnot. But they're making sure that they're putting themselves first. And I love that that message in general. So yeah, definitely. Do you want to say something more and then repeat the quote, love?
Yes. My final thing is, I have experienced this a lot with a lot of my friends that do have kids. It's okay just to take a couple hours for yourself. It's okay. I know that it might seem like you're gonna be on your own and it's selfish, but also part of it is self-love. Even when you have kids, they are amazing humans that we all love so dearly, and it's okay to say, I just need 2 hours on a Wednesday night. That's all I'll leave you with. The quote is, if you want to be happy, set a goal that commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, and inspires your hopes, by Andrew Carnegie.
Thank you very much for that beautiful quote of the day, of the week, of course, because it is Motivational Monday at the end of the day. So, yeah, as always, drop us your comments, thoughts down below. We're always happy to hear from you, and like, just hear something that's on your list, maybe, something that you feel like you want to be doing. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to start, knitting for some reason or whatever, or collecting stickers. I don't know. Just go off and live your dream in the best way possible. Alrighty then. See you really soon. Bye.
Sampai jumpa.